Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all. EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free. Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling. Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using Buddy Payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money. Welcome home.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we get, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Continuing Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of EDDIE-FICATION. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Beach Resort.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Lovely folks. Good evening and welcome to what I would call my 96th Independent Live session and 42nd for 2022. As soon as you enter the room, please share. Thank you for joining so that you can pick up your dose of multivitamins, your mental multivitamins this evening. Yes, we are living in times that are proving to be pregnant with selfishness and loads of what is in it for me, a fact that cannot be denied by those of us who are conscious to identify this malady among us as a constant. Many of our people have learned this from their various authorities, whether in secular or religious Grenada, to include forces of influence in the homes and outside the homes in the wider community. And that is why our discussion today will center around the topic, why lift the load if there is nothing in it for me? Oh gosh, that epitomizes selfishness. I was so glad-hearted to hear Reverend Dr. Osbert James, who stated that he makes no apologies for his statement during his homily on Thanksgiving Day, when he stoutly stated the following, quote, "We keep saying Grenada is a Christian nation, but it is not. Grenada may be a country in which Christianity is the dominant faith, but Grenada is not Christian in the sense that its values are based on the teachings of Christ. Wouldn't it be revolutionary if the mind of Christ were that which influences us in everything that we do? Paul said, if the mind of Christ were formed in us, we would be of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord, and of one mind, where we do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, where we regard others as better than ourselves. And we would look not on our own interests, but to the interests of others. This is the kind of mindset we need if we were to transform societal structures in eliminating inequalities and eradicating structural injustices wherever they may exist. That is so sharp when you think about it, because Reverend Osbert James is something, he continues, this is the kind of, I'll just back up here a bit, this is the kind of mindset that we need if we were to transform societal structures, eliminating inequalities and eradicating structural injustices where they may exist. The mind of Christ, when formed in his followers, is subversive. The mind of Christ, when fueling the passion of the people of a nation, is revolutionary in its impact and a potent force for change. The truth is, in the New Testament, can be considered subversive. The teaching of Jesus and of Paul go against the grain, and they upend the status quo. If Christians were to live consistently according to the teachings of the Bible, revolution will be an everyday experience. What is a revolution but that of positive transformation that impacts all the people? If there were to be a revolution of the kind that propel this country forward, then we all need to repent and change our ways. We have to repent of our selfish and self-seeking ways, unquote. Oh, what a more fitting homily. And who better to deliver this but an outstanding son of the soil, whose actual foundation in faith is strong, and who we should all join in intercessory prayer to ensure remains on track with his strong faith, as his outspoken nature needs to be encouraged, so that he can continue to tell us what we need to hear and need to know. A revolution has begun on the release of the results of June 23rd general election. Change has come for all. In fact, the shift has come to the greedy and the vultures, who are seeing their source of wealth accumulation on the backs of the unsuspecting taxpayers, not to mention the poor and vulnerable, dwindle. They are obviously fighting back with all sorts of distractions. Change has come also to the needy, who, if they play their cards right, will see their plight improve, as this young visionary team in government needs the chance to implement their transformative agenda, which includes all minus of corruption and nastiness in public life. On the issue of last Thanksgiving Day, though, when one looks at the ecumenical service held at the Roman Catholic Cathedral in St. George's, one cannot help but realize that our omissions over the years to teach our children and spread knowledge about the events of October 1983 render this holiday useless. The holiday resembles tits on a bull, useless. No wonder Brian Samuel had to opine that this must be the most uncelebrated Thanksgiving holiday in the world. Out of the 39 years of its observance, one administration has been in office for a total of 23 years, and absolutely nothing was done to promote the October events through active delivery of information to boost the knowledge base of our youthful population about our history and all the activities that led to that fateful day when the Americans found it necessary to intervene militarily to first and foremost secure its interest in the region, consequently restoring constitutional governance to the nation, which was allowed to bung away 9 years after its independence, with visionless leader after visionless leader holding the mantle of power until June this year. One of the virtues of Christianity is selflessness. And that is precisely why I sound the trumpets loudly every week about us being so religious that we forget to be Christians, and about the kind of commercial Christianity that we practice, according to Professor Patrick Lumumba out of Kenya, which render many of us members of the Jesus industry. Our selfishness takes priority over everything else. And that is why many of us in this small piece of rock that we live in, we really and truly follow this. Why lift the load if there is nothing in it for me? Representative of what? Abject selfishness, which is so sad. Folks, let's take a little break and we'll come back with some more. Remember, I promised you a tribute to Sister Gabrielle a little later on.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of EDDIE-FICATION. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence. Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
EDDIE-FICATION.
Lovely. Come on, take it light. We have turkeys here to fry tonight. I want to thank all of you for joining. Just hit that share button and let's get some more people in the room. But in the meantime, I think it's comely that I pay homage and respect to those of you who are on the live. Karen, Debbie, Sweetie. Who else do we have here? Jacqueline, Ricky. Welcome. That's on one platform. And on the other platform, we have Nikisha, Kathleen, Joan, welcome. Mary, Vivian, Dred, Doris, Tamika, Monica, Alice, who else? Sharon, Anne, Nicole, Jennifer, Betty Ann, Gail, we have Carol, I don't know if I said Donna just now, I'm a little puzzled here, but I'll say it again. Samantha, Charmaine, welcome. Of course, Terry, Mimi, Faith, Faith Works. Folks, get some more people in the room because we have quite a bit of information to share tonight. And that tribute for that stalwart of an educator, a woman whose life really and truly was with purpose. A woman who touched many lives in this Grenada here, Sister Gabrielle Mason of St. Joseph's Convent fame. Welcome back, folks. And of course, I want to remind you that our topic for this evening is, why lift the load if there is nothing in it for me? A representation of abject selfishness. We have to change that, and we must change that fast. Welcome back. It is no secret that selfishness and self-seeking orientation and focus of the idiots most of you persisted in electing time and time again, especially from June 20th, 1995 to June 23rd, 1922, had no intention of uniting this nation and fostering a genuinely patriotic people, beaming with national pride. It galls me when I hear people still asking why the members of that last administration wanted to be there in power so badly. That question can only be asked answered according to Voltaire, by he who is so blind that he would not see. Of course, these people would ask that question simply because they are so blind that they refuse to see. The answer is right before them. The several revelations, which are just a fraction of what is yet to be revealed, are just a small hint of why they wanted to be there so badly. For where the bulls and the cows were tied, that is where they were grazing, and grazing quite well, at the expense of every tax-paying member of the public, leaving little to absolutely no room for the masses to ever stand a chance of prospering. Yet for all, their rhetoric was dominated by their love for the poor and vulnerable, whom as long as they were around, the precincts of power were growing in numbers and enjoying a worsening situation, in severity for that matter, of their human conditions. It was quite obvious that most, if not all, of these blood-sucking vampires and their close cohorts were feeding there, and so they needed to be there to continue the feeding, which they called progress, but progress for themselves. This is how their organizations of faith, their private security outfits, their landscaping companies, their friends in hardware stores and other businesses, and God knows what else, were allowed to prosper, while the greater population were left to become pauperized, destitute, vulnerable, and duncerized. These incompetent, incapable, and self-seeking parasites wanted to be returned, not to do any good for the country, but to continue to do good for themselves. For years, I have told you that the type and level of individuals we've been choosing to vest authority in through our careless votes, whenever they are out of power, you can see them looking really badly, as they usually take off their costumes, comprising, of course, of jacket and tie, in the case of the men. And in the case of the women, they remove their weaves and wigs and running around with old frock and slippers in their foot, looking ordinary, with an A as the Jamaicans would pronounce it. Many of you who have been ardent followers of my programs over the years can attest to me likening Grenada to a cup of local cocoa tea when shaken, dregs all over the place, when in truth and in fact, for this cup of local cocoa to be truly enjoyed, it should be drunk when the dregs have settled to the bottom, because that's where dregs belong. I understand that some of them are around applying for jobs in the private sector today, and unfortunately, based on how they're treated with people when they jumped past others up the ladder, they are respectfully declined. Ode to the power of karma. Karma never loses an address, folks. Our absolute tendency towards selfishness is astonishingly shameful. Without many of us realizing it, our youthful population must have learned this from many of us adults who are parents, guardians, leaders, whether in secular or religious Grenada. We socialized our young ones to become that which we do not like in our society today. If there is nothing in it for me, I would have nothing to do with it. The greater good is no longer important. Sad indeed. Today's topic, Why lift the load if there is nothing in it for me, is very instructive, and it intends to bring the points home in my usual frank manner, with a view to getting us to check ourselves, as our nation cannot be developed with that negative mindset. From 1974 to the present, we have not done well at all as a civilization. We need to stop. We need to retool. We need to press the reset button and reset our compasses if we were to contribute to the meaningful difference Grenada deserves before we die, so we could redeem some pride in ourselves. We are called upon to detoxify our minds. But how do we do this? It's a multifaceted process, folks. You have to address what you are putting into your mind and take every stray thought captive and reprogram your subconscious and cultivate a maintenance routine that fosters your new positive outlook. The details behind each of these vary in complexity. Is it easy? Absolutely not. The truth is, we have got to change our environments. We have to change what we consume, not just by way of food, but by way of who we associate with, what we listen to, what and where and who we pay attention to, for what has the power to upset us and otherwise distract us will lead in our lives. Take a strong, hard look, and a long look at the people you have around you, folks. But that must not exclude your siblings, your family members, and your relatives. Some of them are bad company. You could be into something here. Take a serious look. The definition of family varies. One speaks to all the descendants of a common ancestor, while yet another states a group of one or more parents and their children living together in it. Everyone that you going on their business separately basis and returning to the nest after the day is over, regardless of what stage or stages. They are bringing back contamination. What a pity. Most of it happens to be negative. The pressures of their various pairs can be brought to bear on those they live with. And so, that can affect the relationship within the home if members are easily moved to be swayed by outside influence. I have heard all too often from many people wanting to grab a larger vision of themselves that their greatest detractors have been members of their family in addition to some of their close friends. The advice I have for you is to love them from a distance. To stay is to remain contaminated and without hope. As long as you were not joined at the hip at birth, you ought to move away from that which is not good for you. By learning to clear out the clutter, you make room for the new. And it becomes easier to let in positive energy that is knocking on your door for entry, thus becoming a worthy replacement. We have to remember our past is a dead story. No matter what you do, it cannot change. Forgive and move on. The Arabs have a saying, I've said it here many times, Elifat mat. What is past is dead. Remember the lesson so you can grow. Lessons like experiences are meant to teach us, and when we learn, we grow. Throw away the ego, which is the pride you express to others about yourself, fueling that need to be relevant, which in itself breeds disappointment. Many of us have gone through the past. And though tough, our optimistic approach to think whatever new is coming would be better than that what was gone, hey, surely keep us going and growing. If you do not make an effort, folks, to disassociate from your past, the new future you deserve won't enter. Be mindful of your past only, but disassociate, please. There would be losers whose job it is to remind you of your past while they are not making any progress in their lives because they are more taken up with you and yours. Leave that to them. As part of your new future, take time to deliberate on acquiring a pet of your choice. I got a dog in order to trap the new future I claim, dwelling in the positive realm of my consciousness. So much so, I could not agree with Mark Twain more when he said, "The more I learn about people, the more I like my dog." In the end, achieving the bliss of positivity takes practice and constant positioning for more positive to come into our lives. Because this is a give and take, you have to also remember to be kind and spot indigence and lack when you see it. Share your gifts with those who may embody indigence and lack. Many times your gifts include a kind word, a hug, a pair of sincere listening ears. It is not about money and material all the time, folks. Many times it is just about the way you make someone feel. A friend builds a house, moves into it, but cannot afford some of the creature comforts that they were used to when they were renting at the lesser monthly commitment than their current mortgage. And they may have had a furnished house. They couldn't leave with the people's furnishings. They are prepared to take a few steps backward in order to leap forward with their lives. You should become creative with your gift giving. Why not gift valuable help to get maybe the stove, the bed, a month's worth of shopping to be dominated by toiletries and detergents, help to purchase a washer, installation of cable, connection to water, electricity. These are the thoughtful gifts we should be thinking of to help a friend come up to standard. We must all remember that we were once there and wished we had someone to help in those regards. Others of us remember when friends reached out to us with those and more. Folks, you have to sow seeds for the future, especially if you have children. Cast your bread upon the water, and it is likely to come back to you tenfold. Just Thursday last, a senior executive of a leading company called me. The second person for the week, I must say. And interestingly, those two people called to seek what? My counsel on separate issues, which were common to their careers in context of their future. I asked both of them the same question. Why me? You know, they had the same answer, even though I'm speaking to two separate people, two different times last week or this week just gone. They answer, they love when they speak with me, how they leave feeling after the conversation. I get that all the time when I speak with people who call on purpose. They feel they can lift anything and move mountains after speaking with me. I never knew I had this effect on people. But they revealed to me that even when they listen to me on my live broadcasts and during motivational training junkets that I may conduct from time to time, that some of them might be participants on, they feel uplifted and ready to make changes in their lives. I was advised not to underestimate the effect I have on the people who are willing to make the necessary adjustments in their lives. All I say to that is, wow. That was like music to my ears. As we know what they say, if by your very existence you are able to influence one life in the right direction, your work in this life on earth is over. I don't have to go around sounding any alarm about my selflessness, for that is for the recipients of my kindness to do, if they so choose. I don't wish to rob them of that task, for I am contented within myself, having volunteered to do things that are worth serious dollars, having agreed effortlessly to do things that I was volunteered for, again, which cost some serious dollars, and being able to part with valuable material things that do not serve me and would better serve someone else. I know at times, and one can feel the unasked questions. It's sad. Why is he doing this for me? I wonder what he wants from me. You see, folks, when one lives by the following creed, why lift the load if there is nothing in it for me? It is easy for him or her to doubt the genuine nature of others. Let's take a little break. We have some more onions to fry, but in the meantime, hit that share button, folks, and let's get some people in the room.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence. Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. And for those of you just joining, let me say welcome to you. It's a plumb pleasing pleasure to have you in the room where edification is being shared, of course, as pungently frank as I come across. I just want to say welcome back to you. I recently saw an event broadcast live where a particular person was delivering welcome remarks. And for the first time in a very long time, I was able to engage effortlessly in paying attention to the presentation. This was a local live, a local something. That woman had it going on. She came across bright, focused, structured, and sequential in her delivery. Not to mention, her pronunciations were on point, aided by a wonderful tone and diction. Even though she turned out to be from a parish other than St. George, she reflected polish in her accent and intonation. She was the embodiment of what proper education can support from a home where these things generally mattered in the past. I called her to congratulate her. I did some wrong, of course, because I had no clue who she was. I called, I took stills of the video while she was on the live. I took stills of her picture and I sent her around to inquire, who is she? Who is this woman? Who is this solid Grenadian woman? When I found out, I called her. Anyone who knows me, they know I don't take too kindly to a business telephone being answered unprofessionally. Well, she was not in at the time, and so I was able to speak with her personal assistant, who was pretty professional in her response to me via the telephone. I had to commend her also because of the usual poor quality all around us in these various roles, whether in the public or private sector, we have sunken, the civilization has sunken so low. I was heartened to learn from each of them, folks, that I had something to do with their current level of confidence and professionalism today, as they were participants in social skills training sessions I conducted as far back as the 90s. Could you imagine that? These workshops were extensions of my gratis outreach over the years. Look at the bountiful repayment I received from my selflessness to these operatives. There was nothing in it for me, but for them. And what do you know? They received with their two hands and ran with it. Their success today is my satisfaction, which I actually experienced in the middle of a time when our civilization has been decimated by the low caste of individuals we elected to office over the years. The story is told of this personal assistant working for a government of Grenada who had only just returned from a secretary's personal development workshop back in the 90s that I conducted, when she was eager to implement the professional way of handling the office phone. So the Monday morning, bright and early, that followed that particular workshop, that saw her turning over a new leaf to practice her professionalism, when a certain female minister of government called for the minister at that time back then. In the middle of a professional greeting, this female minister told her off and asked her, "What all of that for?" In fact, she said she ain't had no time for all of that. And to besides, she know who she called for, so put her on the phone to the minister. Could you imagine being tested by this jammet of a character, who was part and parcel of the leadership of this nation's commencement of denigration of our society, of our civilization, and the degeneration of our civilization? After that, it was downhill for our political leadership when you have miscreants like that occupying big office. But it was quite enough for a member of the political leadership of the country telling you this. That in itself tells you we reach where we're going. We have to remember by our mere experience, folks, over the years, where these people's concerns were. And it surely was not on the development of the masses, but on their own personal enrichment and personal development. Just recently, I sent out my thought for the day, and it spoke to the difference between progress and success as follows. Growth plus ethics equal progress. But progress plus humanity plus morality plus spirituality equals success. Goodly folks, we are to grow through life and not just go through life. If we just go through life, there is no chance for us making progress, far less to reach the finish line of experiencing success. In life, we are to change the plan, but we must never change the goal. What is your goal in life? Different plans can take you to achieving your goal. And so it is important to tweak the plan as often as necessary. Always look for efficient ways of being effective in achieving your goals, but never change your goal. When I shared this with a close friend who is also a professional, he told me quite firmly, "Eddie, never underestimate the positive effect you are having on others." All I say in return is give God the praise. I recall spending some time teaching folks at the St. Joseph's Convent back in the day with Sister Gabrielle, God rest her soul. She was a practical woman, and a woman who had people's well-being at the center of her life's focus. She wanted to see all her girls do well, and so she poured herself thoroughly into every child she encountered. To tell you how disciplined this stalwart of a woman was, she remembered students' names while they were at school and long after they would have left school and turned woman, so to speak. When she made the call for me to assist, as she was in a crisis for teachers back in 1981, I immediately responded in the affirmative. And how could you refuse a woman of this magnitude of substance? When she called on you, it was as if God was using her voice to command you. You just had to respond appropriately. Her sincerity was loud, emanating from the bowels of her spirit. All you can see was a woman with a calling for good for humanity. Dr. Anselm Latouche of the Creative Group of Companies fame right here in Grenada, the man behind the rendering and the construction of all of SGU, St. George's University. He told me a story long time ago when Sister Gabrielle conceived of the idea of moving the actual convent out of the school so the nuns could have a private and separate residence from the actual school compound. The main reason was to expand the school and make for more accommodation of the nation's girls wanting to be schooled at the prestigious St. Joseph Convent. He said when he got the call, he felt commanded to report forthwith, as she was a woman of certainty who knew what she wanted. When she related the request to him, he said he doesn't understand it up to this day, but he was led to follow through regardless of whether she knew where the money was coming from or not. She operated by such deep faith that he was caught in the jet stream, to the point where he followed through, inspected the facilities, took measurements, and commissioned the drawings. All this time on the basis of faith, not the kind we've been hearing about recently that have a lot of money behind it. Proper faith, not Jesus industry faith, but proper Christian faith. Sister Gabrielle proceeded without a cent, and Creative Designs and Building Construction Limited in tow. The project started, and it was ain't no stopping us now, even though no money was evident. The project finished, and without any troubles whatsoever, the money started flowing to pay for the project. Again, on the basis of her Christian faith, not Jesus industry faith, and in agreement with her positive conscience and great intentions, the finance was raised locally among Huggins, Grenada Bank of Commerce Limited, National Commercial Bank Limited, Hubbard's, Grentel, Grenlec, Caribbean Agro Industries, and it was topped off and polished off by the German Catholic charities. Dr. Latouche himself could not believe it. In his own words, upon reflection, he felt that it was God calling on him when Sister Gabrielle called him, as he was speaking through her. Sister Gabrielle never fooled herself about the true meaning of education, and she took on a practical approach to her local education, as she firmly believed that children should grow up to be fit for life and fit to live with. She believed that education was not confined to within four walls. I recall her popularizing the following definition: education is what remains long after what was learnt in school is forgotten. How much more profound can one get? I recall relating Aristotle's definition to her as constant association with right things and right itself. When she asked me if I was a student of philosophy, though not formally, the answer to that question will always be yes. as I read a lot and follow the teachings of the foremost of philosophers of all times, thus helping to enrich my intellect because of my commitment to personal growth and development. Now that I am on the path to only positive vibes, it is instructive to note that personal life coaches who are all alive, chief among whom is Brendan Burchard, together with Aristotle, the philosophers of old time, Plato, Epictetus, Sophocles, Socrates, Confucius, and the like, factor in also. Sister Gabrielle was a great Grenadian woman. She was a woman of substance. Though she may not have borne any children of her own, she was ordained in the heavens to be the mother to so many. I can feel the tectonic shift as a result of her passing through the sadness in the air. But let me take time to remind you all that her life is not one to be mourned, but rather one to be truly celebrated. For her life is not one to be mourned, remember that. She lived and did not live a forgettable life. She came and she conquered. She left her mark and she's gone back to her maker after doing her tour of duty quite diligently. That was a woman I truly loved. What a pity they do not come like that in huge numbers. But then again, that is what quality is all about. Sister Gabrielle was selfless and a true Christian woman whose life touched so many others in genuinely meaningful ways. She never used her position of authority and trust to take advantage of the vulnerable. She never saw her leadership position as an opportunity to exert faith over others, to milk a system and make money while she nickeled and dimed the unsuspecting. Sister Gabrielle bent down and gave her hand of help to bring up others. And that is why so many people are so sad today when the news hit social media that she passed. It is because of Sister Gabrielle I can boast of teaching at the convent for a good 2 years, September of 1981 to June of 1983. Something I truly enjoyed. The current principal of SJC is one of the students who would have experienced my teaching back then. Sister Gabrielle never had the inclination to ask, why lift the load if there is nothing in it for me? Even when she knew there was nothing in it for her, she delivered. Her firmness was not to be mistaken, as genuine love and concern were always at the center of her character, for that is who she was. Let's take a break again and come back for the last segment.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative, Bank Limited, and Tillian Group, Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence. Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful, as the Germans would say, wunderbar. So folks, for those of you just joining again, I'd like to say welcome to this particular live, and we're in time for my final segment. It is so unfortunate that so many of our people today are challenged by the education system presided over by those who pretended to be more faithful, when in truth and in fact, they were more faithful to themselves as against the genuine education of our youthful population. Just look at the overall education levels of our youthful nation. Graduates of our education system must be selective about their ability or inability to process what they claim to listen to. How do we get our population to listen to understand as against listening to respond? The transformation agenda the new administration promotes needs to go far and deep. It must start with the reorientation of our people's minds. It must transform their thinking from what's in it for me to what's in it for us. What can I do to play my part to help redefine our national independence and change our people's thinking to the collective us as against the individual me? We have a lot of has-beens who are running around presenting themselves in the middle of what obtains today as if they are Wednesday. You know, Wednesday presents itself in the middle of any week. Such elements are only seeking relevance. And in some cases, demanding it too. Such people are so status-starved that when they are out of office, they suddenly realize they are a set of nobodies, which is what they were all along. But the lack of focus of so many of you made them feel they were otherwise. This contributed to them presenting themselves in the middle of the void a lot of you decent people created when you omitted to take an active part in meaningful leadership of the country's affairs. Of course, the crash of the revolution on October 19th, 1983, caused many of our parents, people my age, our parents, to warn our generation about this thing called politics, reminding us of how Bishop ended up being killed by his own men. Excuse me a minute. That gave them fuel to stoutly warn us, stay away from politics. And so we did, thus making way for miscreants and otherwise classless idiots to walk in and take over. And from then it was to hell in a handbasket we went under their leadership, with the civilization resembling the aftermath of total destruction. But October 31st last year saw the end of that, when young Deacon Mitchell, a successful local lawyer, offered himself as leader of the National Democratic Congress, successfully at that, and thus began his transition from law to active politics. It was uphill for him from then on, as he appeared fresh, bright, with a tested track record of being loyal to his constituents, his clients in the legal fraternity. Something which he could only transfer to the politics: loyalty and decency. 4 months have passed since the general election, and the new administration seeks to continue to stamp its authority on the leadership of the country and the entire governance structure. One cannot help but notice that several of the round pegs in square holes within the structure of governance seem just as eager to remain in place to either prolong the decay of the system of governance or to prevent its restructuring altogether. One cannot help but notice some of them getting bold, feeling brave enough, and getting comfortable. Word is out that they are actively involved in sabotage, even by their communication with individuals of like minds, leaving loopholes for them to have the upper hand. The government must be aware of such elements and the implications of their omissions. Any troublemaker who is on contract and insists on sabotage, whose said contracts ended a while back and who are on month to month with any government ministry or department, give them their due notice and send them packing. You should do so before Christmas also, so they could learn the hard way to stop following those whom they enabled to cream off the top, while they ended up abandoned in the insecure contract position that expired and nothing was done to secure them by those same people that they love, that they remain loyal to. Oh God, but it's stupid. Pay them off if they are due 1 month in lieu of notice, and let them set sail on the open tempestuous seas. Maybe they are not aware that Europeans are stockpiling just about everything, bearing in mind the uncertainty staring the face day in, day out with the war between Russia and Ukraine. Us here in this region will not be spared. One other area of transformation badly needed is the proper sanitization of all outsourced services, to include security, grounds maintenance, parliamentary constituency offices, schools sanitation teams, janitorial services, and other invented services and facilities. Stop the financial hemorrhaging of our national coffers forthwith. As a new government, you would find when you cut the middleman out, you will have huge savings to take care of the people's business. In fact, you'll be able to pay whoever you directly contract to do the work in any of these areas better, while registering meaningful savings. All semblance of corruption must be vanquished once and for all. Once and for all. Old ways must be replaced by new ways of doing things. This is why I proffered tonight's topic. So this why lift the load if there is nothing in it for me. That culture has got to be dismantled. So you know what to see. What I mean when I say as repetitively as I do, we each of us have to be the change we want to see. Isn't that beautiful, folks? Here ends my program for tonight. As I usually say, I'm in, I'm out, I'm gone. So I will see you next week, God willing, for regular programming. So until then, I want you to stay safe, stay well, and remain lifted. This country has got to change. And we who are here standing in the gap must help the change. We must help enable that change. We must keep our young people engaged so that they do not fall for the mess of pottage and lose all hopes. Because remember, a 25-year-old 25 years ago was in a much better position than a 25-year-old 25 years from 25 years ago. Isn't that sad? When you think government is supposed to come in office and uplift people, bring them up, they uplifted themselves. And in uplifting themselves, duncerized the majority, pauperized the nation. Every year, the poverty index keeps rising. Every year, the doing business report, we're getting worse and worse because it's just corruption and corruption. Because you see, when there is chaos, corruption thrives. When there is dunceness, people close their eyes because they get a mess of pottage, a little pittance here and a little seed here and a little this here and a little work here and a little employment by faith here and there and whatnot, and they feel they're okay, and they continue to stretch their hands. They get a little debushing 2 weeks every 6 months, and they're happy with that. Come on, folks. Some of you really and truly should take your clothes off and go in the bush, because for you to like what kept you so, what put you in total and abject poverty, you got to be a beast. You have no right to be wearing clothes to look like people, because you're not thinking. And if you want to think and be qualified to wear the clothes that people are supposed to wear, you need to lift your consciousness, lift your level, and get yourself to an acceptable level so that you can move on. We are supposed to grow through life, not just go and amble through life. This civilization has been mangled by a man who likes to boast. 15 on 3 occasions. 15. That was a total bad and poor reflection of Grenada. A totally poor, because he was, and his leadership was, abysmally poor. But you sucked up to it while you were encouraging the greedy and the vultures to thrive. Because the greedy and the vultures are among those who are vexed, upset, mad about the change, you know. Oh, yes. But you, the needy, you should be happy for it, because you stand a better chance of growing out of need with proper structures in place. We have to stand in the gap to continue to educate people so that you will know your mistakes of the past, because a mistake is a mistake when you didn't learn from it. When you continue to make the same mistake, it becomes a nasty habit. And voting for that was indeed a nasty habit that a lot of you need to break, because that was no good for you. The feeders and the enablers and the nastinesses that were there lurking in the bushes, waiting to pounce. We've got to extricate them from this society. And I don't mean that in a literal sense, but you know what I mean. These people must be put on the back burner because they were no good for the country. And don't let them fool you. As somebody say here, yes, the gutter mentality. We have to change that, folks. We have to transform that mind. We have to renew our mind so that we can learn and we can understand that we came into this life for one reason: to grow through it, not just to go through it. And grow we should. And grow you have a chance of now with this new dispensation. You look at the young man that holds the office of Prime Minister, you just see decency. You don't see spiritual ugliness. You don't see a deep-rooted ugly coming out of him. No, you see a decent, humble young man whose successes never went to his head. Reached to the top of his profession with success and decided to sidestep. It's time to leave that. Let me leave that for younger people. And in fact, hires only scholars as lawyers in his office, because he himself was a scholar at UWI Barbados, Keyville, and St. Augustine in Trinidad. Hires only scholars in his legal practice. So he could afford to walk away because he has scholars behind. Island scholars, 2 ladies in there, 2 women, island scholars. What does that say about a young man? That he could attract that caliber of legal minds. That he could afford to attract the kind of successes after successes in the court of law, whether it is in civil cases or industrial cases. What does that say, folks? What does that say? He's not coming on no radio or TV to just watch you in your cocoje and lie, and curse people and throw words. He's not cut from that cloth. It is time Grenadians come up for air from that kind of nastiness. But you have to become that change that you want to see. We, each of us, have to become that change we want to see so that we can take it a notch up and be really boastful of our status as an independent nation. Because we have nothing to boast at. Remember I tell you, independence is something we have to observe, we have to just pull the curtain and watch it. We are not qualified to celebrate it because there is nothing to celebrate. Nothing, absolutely nothing. We cannot celebrate corruption, we cannot celebrate nepotism, we cannot celebrate gutterization, pauperization, nor dunsification. And those are the products that we have developed and enhanced over the last, 23 years in particular. Especially that period between 1995 and the 23rd of June, 2022. 23rd June, 2022 was a historic day for this country, folks. Let us stand in the gap to protect that victory going forward, because we now stand a chance to become the decent nation that we were ordained in the heavens to be. A productive nation, and not just a nation waiting on handout and don't want to walk. I think I said enough. So, see you goodly folks next week, God willing. Take very, very good care of your wonderful selves. And remember, there is always something that I have to share. Peace and blessings.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative, Bank Limited, and Tillian Group, Country Cold Store.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free. Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling. Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using buddy payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
Welcome home. I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we get, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Educator, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of EDDIE-FICATION. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Beach Resort.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.